Starting on hands and knees, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Start to inhale, lifting the eyes, rounding the spine on the exhale, pulling the belly up. Inhaling, arching, lifting the eyes, opening the chest, and exhale to round. Try to get as much movement in the spine here. If you want your elbows to bend a little bit as you move through it, go ahead. Really opening up the chest and the collarbone, and really scooping up the belly and tucking the tail when you round. Press that mat away each time a little bit more, finding that round back, and then allow that chest to open a little bit wider every time. Come on back to neutral and stretch your left leg long and your right arm forward, and lift the arm and leg, lower to tap. Everything else stays stable. Keep those lower ribs lifted. Support with your left shoulder. And think length from fingers to toes, not height. Lower back is an arching. You're going to bring the elbow into the knee as you round. Stretch the arm and the leg long and find some extension. Knee and elbow touch as you round, and then lift the eyes, the chest. So you want to round your spine as the elbow and the knee touch, and you want to find that little bit of extension and back bend as you reach the arm and the leg away. Bring it down, switch to the other side, right leg long, left arm forward. Without any movement in the spine, lift the arm and the leg, lower to tap. When the leg and the arm lift, really think of snapping your belly up. Try not to let yourself sink into the right shoulder. And think length, not height. Rounding the spine as the elbow and the knee touch, and then arching and extending the spine as you lift the eyes, the arm, and the leg. Trying your best to remain stable, resisting any wobbling that might happen. Lower it down, walk the arms forward, and allow your chest to drop down to the mat, bringing your chin, nose, or forehead down, sticking your tailbone up to the ceiling. Lower belly pulls up, and breathe. Slide your hips to your feet and roll your spine up. Take the right arm out to the side, side bend the spine as you circle that left arm up and over, lifting the eyes and the chest as that arm reaches behind you, getting a nice stretch through that left shoulder and through your spine. Switching sides, right arm circles back as the eyes and the chest looks up. Really reach through those right fingers. Coming back to hands and knees, curling the toes, floating the knees up, and finding your downward dog. Coming back forward and lowering the knees back down. Knees lift to a hover, and then find your downward dog, and then return back with the knees on the mat. When you're in downward dog, really press those heels down, really stick your tail up. Control the lowering of the knees with the abs. You're going to find downward dog and find rotation. Right arm reaches to the outside of your left ankle. And then come on back down with the knees on the mat. Lift back up to downward dog. Left arm reaches to the outside of the right ankle. Find rotation. Back to downward dog, and then back down with your knees on the mat. Keep alternating the sides. Keep your hips squared, and keep pressing your weight back into the legs using that single arm. Notice what side may feel tighter or where you have less rotation. Coming back to hands and knees. In neutral spine, you're going to take that right arm up as you find rotation and place it back down on the mat. Repeat. So your hips stay very still. There's no rotation in the hips. As you reach that right arm up to the ceiling, really press down with your left arm. Find height as you rotate, reach. Switching sides. Left arm goes up to the ceiling, rotating your chest, but keeping your hips very still. Pressing that mat away with your right arm. Lower belly stays pulled up. Walk your arms forward and find that shoulder stretch. Lowering your chest, chin down, breathing. Bring yourself up and then flip your hands so that your fingers face towards your knees. And just start to kind of rock yourself back and forth. Keeping the heels of the hands down as much as possible into the mat. Finding that stretch through that wrist area, forearm. Shifting side to side. Have a seat on your feet. Interlace those hands behind your back. Roll the shoulders back. Open the chest. Take the eyes up, chest up. And tilt your head from side to side. Stretching the neck muscles. Coming back to hands and knees. Walk your legs out a little, curl the toes. Straighten the legs and find plank. Draw that right knee into your elbow and then lift the hips up to drive that knee up to the armpit. Down to the elbow, up to the armpit. Scoop your belly to get there. Press that mat away with your arms. Switching sides, left knee to left elbow, and then up towards the armpit. Back down and scoop to lift up. Press the mat away. Take that foot back. Come forward. Lift the eyes, open the chest, engage your legs. Flip those toes and find your downward dog. Holding your downward dog position, hug the elbows in and start to bend them, almost touching the mat, and straighten. Elbows stay hugged in as they bend. Try to keep those heels as close to the mat as possible as your elbows bend, getting that stretch through the calves. Hold your flat back and your belly pulled up. Come forward into your plank, lower the knees, walk the arms forward, and find your shoulder stretch. Breathe, belly stays lifted. Coming back to hands and knees, curling the toes, lifting the legs up to plank. We're going to pivot over. Left arm is supporting into a side plank. Back to your plank. Pivot over to the other side, find your side plank, and return to the center. Just roll through your toes. Support yourself with a single arm. Keep those hips high. Glutes and legs engaged, squeezing together. Holding here, doing little pulses with the hips. Lower a little, lift a little. Press that mat away with your arm as the hips lift. Make sure they stay stacked. Come back to center. Switch over to the other side. Lower a little, lift a little. Press that mat away. Keep those hips high and stacked. Back to plank. Lower the knees down. Walk the arms forward. And once again, really open up the chest and that armpit area. Tailbone stays up, belly stays up. Slide your hips to your feet, roll yourself up. Take that right arm out to the side, side bend and circle that left arm. Lifting the eyes, the chest, finding a little bit of a back bend as you rotate. Switching sides. Allowing yourself to get as much movement in that right arm, mobilizing the shoulder. Coming up to kneel, knees under your hips. Reach the arms forward. And we're going to start to hinge back from the knee joint, keeping the spine very straight and neutral. Glutes engaged and returning back. So if you glance down, you should be able to see your thighs. If your ribs are blocking the view of your thighs, then your back is arching. So stay away from the arch. Really try to tuck the pelvis, keep the abs engaged as you shift back and forward from the knee joint. Feeling the work through the thighs and through the abdominals. Come back, feeling a little bit taller each time, lifting the crown of the head up to the ceiling. Keeping the glutes squeezed the entire time. Couple of more. Let's step that right leg forward. Take your left knee back a little. We're going to take the arms up as we hinge forward, finding a stretch in that left hip flexor. Squeeze your left glute, pull up through the belly, and then lower the arms and straighten the right leg. Come forward again, lunging deep, lifting the arms, lifting the heart, and then returning. Moving through the stretch, finding it in your left hip flexor, left quad. Hold the next stretch and find your rotation here over to the right side. See if you can bend that back knee and grab a hold of your foot while holding the rotation, pulling that foot in towards the glute, finding even a deeper stretch through that quad. Breathe. And let's switch sides. Left foot comes forward. Take the right leg back a little. Lift the arms up, lunge deep, squeezing your right glute, pulling up through the belly. Lower the arms, straighten the left leg. Again. The more sense of lift there is through the arms, through the spine, the more stretch you'll feel. Hold your next stretch. Rotate over towards the left. And if you can, bend that right knee, grab a hold of your right foot while keeping the rotation. Pull that foot into the glute and breathe. Come on back to hands and knees. Curl the toes. Come up into downward dog. And let's pedal out the feet. One heel comes down and the other knee bends. Come forward into a plank, bringing that right knee to the outside of your right tricep and then over to the left tricep. Right knee to right tricep, Lift that leg up into three-legged dog and then over to the left tricep. Scoop the belly to get that knee up high and keep your hips squared when that right leg goes up. Strong shoulders, no sinking into the shoulder joint. Find your downward dog and hold. Lift that left leg up to the ceiling, but keep your hips parallel. Left knee to left tricep, leg reaches back. And then to the right tricep, leg reaches back. Hips stay squared, belly scoops up to get that knee up. The higher the knee goes, the more you feel the abs. Try to hold that knee into the tricep for a second or two, feeling the core working. Find your downward dog, heels pressing down, tailbone sticking up, breathing. Start to shift forward into upward dog. Flip your toes, eyes up, pull your belly up. Don't let yourself sink into the lower back. Press that mat away with the arms. Scoop up your belly to lift those hips. Uncurl your toes and find downward dog. Bend the knees, lower them down. Walk your arms forward and find that shoulder stretch. Tailbone sticks up, chest is heavy and down, but your belly stays pulled up and engaged. Slide your hips to your feet, roll your spine up. Come to lie down on your mat. Hands interlaced behind the head, legs bent. Find your imprint, so flatten your lower back into the mat by engaging your abs. Lift both legs up to tabletop, feet are pointed. You're going to curl up, eyes at the knees, uncurl a little, and then curl back up. So tiny little ab curls. You're bending from the bra line. The legs are staying still. And I want you to think chest up to the ceiling or to the knees rather than the thighs. Pelvis is still. Belly snaps down. Lower your head. Hug your thighs into your chest. Pull your thighs in as much as you can. Keep your tailbone down on the mat. Legs back in tabletop, hands interlaced. Curl up. Eyes at the knees. Your right leg goes long, left leg goes long. Alternating the sides, but keeping your pelvis very still while you do this. Belly snapping down. And think of your chest up towards your knees, not your thighs. Belly stays flat. Don't let the belly pop up. Long with the leg, reaching away. Come to tabletop, lift a little higher, lower it down. Go wide with your legs, grab the outsides of your feet, and just start to kind of rock your hips side to side. Try to anchor your tailbone down. And think of using your elbows here to press those knees out wide. Opening up the hips here. Hands back behind the head, legs in tabletop, curl up. Right leg goes long, we're going to rotate over to the left and then come back. Repeat. So when you rotate over to the left, check that that right hip stays grounded on the mat. There's no movement in the pelvis. The legs are not shifting side to side. It's a little rotation coming from your chest. Hold your rotation and start to pulse. Little curls here. Legs don't move. Bending from the bra line. Snapping your belly down. Come back to tabletop, lower your head down, but keep your legs up. Curl up, Left leg goes long as you rotate to the right knee and return. Check your left hip. It stays heavy as you rotate. Belly stays down, flat. Hold your next rotation and tiny little crunches here. But watch your legs, don't let them move. Belly snapping down. Come back to center, lower your head down, grab the outsides of your feet again, go wide with those knees. And wiggle your hips side to side if that feels good, or just hold, but really try to root your tailbone down. Come on up to sit. Fingers point away from you, hands are behind you. Legs are a little bit apart and bent. You're gonna press into the feet and your hands and lift your hips up, squeezing the bum. Lower your hips right back down. Press the hips up, press the mat away, and return back down. Think of really lifting the chest and the hips up while your belly pulls down. Holding it up there, doing tiny little pulses at the top, releasing the glutes and then squeezing and engaging. Chest is open, arms are pressing the mat away, and abs are snapping down. Hold at the top, squeeze those glutes, lower all the way down. Stretch your legs long, about the width of your mat. Point the toes and press those hips up again. Same time the hips press up, the arms push the mat away. Your chest presses up, but your belly stays pulling down. Opening up the front of the body while engaging the back body. Holding it up here, and we're going to do these tiny little lifts and lowers. Pressing the hips up, and every time you do, your belly snaps down. Arms stay active, don't let yourself sink into the shoulders. Hold at the top, lower your hips, bring your legs together, flex your feet, and soft bend your knees. Take your arms up. Think lengthen the back as you reach forward into a forward fold. Grab a hold of your feet or ankles or whatever works. Scoop up your belly. Find your stretch here and breathe. Use those arms to pull your spine more forward. Slide your fingers along your mat as you sit up tall. Circle those arms out to the sides and lift up. Nice straight spine, fold forward from the hips. Grab a hold of your feet, ankles. Use those arms to pull yourself forward. Slide your fingers down along the mat as you sit up nice and tall. Bend your legs, take your arms behind you again, and cross your right ankle over your left thigh in this figure 4 position. Walk the feet, the legs, and your chest as close to each other as possible until you feel that stretch in the right hip. The more you kind of press your chest in towards that right leg, and the taller you sit, the more you'll feel. Check that the weight on the sit bones is even. I like to kind of rock side to side here to loosen up my hips. But my arms are active, constantly lifting my chest up. Now keep that right leg there. Maybe it will adjust a little bit, but you're going to come into this cross-leg position. Arms go up to the ceiling, straight spine. Bring your arms forward and start to fold forward over that cross-leg position, finding a deep stretch through that right hip. Wherever your stretch is for you, you're going to hang out there and breathe. And just notice how much tension you're holding on to. And with each exhale, try to really release that. So every time you release, you actually fold a little deeper. Bring yourself back up to that figure 4 position again. And then let's switch sides. Left ankle over the right thigh. Walk your arms and your chest closer to the leg. Lift the spine up as tall as you can. You could wiggle from sit bone to sit bone, but just keep lifted through the shoulders, through the spine. Keep your left leg there. It might change a little bit, and just start to cross those legs the best that you can. Take the arms up, nice straight spine, arms forward, and then you fold forward again, finding a deep stretch through that left hip. Again, wherever that stretch is for you, just hang out. Try to hold it for a few breaths and try to release the tension on the exhales. Each exhale, fold a little deeper. Walk your spine up and bring yourself back to that figure 4 position. And then extend your legs forward again. Soft bend in the knees. Feet are flexed, arms reach up, spine lifts up. And once again, fold forward from your hips, grabbing a hold of whatever you can. And start to use your hands to pull your body forward, your chest closer towards the knees, assisting you in that stretch. And then pause here and find your deepest stretch. And try to breathe. Relax the shoulders. Bring yourself up to sit in a wide-legged position. Taking your left arm over to one side, looking up at the ceiling, finding a stretch on the side, and switching over. Take the eye gaze up and the chest up, keeping your chest as open as possible. Reaching through the fingers, creating space on the side. Pause in the middle, walk the arms forward until you feel a stretch in your hips. And then we're going to start to bend the elbows, tapping the mat, and straightening the arms. So every time we bend the elbows, that brings us down a little more into our stretch. Hold the elbows down if you can, or wherever your stretch is, and breathe. Walk those fingers over to the left side. Find a little bounce here in your movement. And then reach those arms and walk them over to the other side, finding that little bounce in your movement. Again, walking those arms over. Belly stays scooped. Coming to the center and finding your stretch, whether that's on your fingers or your forearms or your chest. Bring yourself up, walk your legs together, and hug your thighs in towards your chest.